second lecture in our series from the UK UA Animation Lab. Today's lecture will be on the subject of preparing an animation pitch deck. And I'm pleased to present to you Fokion Xenos today, who will be joining us and giving a fantastic masterclass lecture on this subject. I'm sure he's going to introduce himself once he gets started, but I just wanted to first introduce him. I met Fokion 2019, I think, way back when Heatwave was doing its festival circuit. I remember seeing it and got in contact through Squiggly Animation Magazine, and we did an interview. One of my favourite films, and it still is. It's such a fantastic film. So that's how we go back. So a little bit about Fokion. So he's a director from Athens who is interested in playful and daring stories that focus on visual storytelling and emotional honesty. His work emphasizes humour and colour, combining practical and digital techniques to create unique and emerging visuals, which is certainly what Heatwave was when I first saw it. So his NFTS graduation film, Heatwave, has competed in over 120 festivals and has picked up many awards along the way. And recently, he has been living and working in Athens, where he has co-directed the children's animation series Gigon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Giagone.
Okay, and which was the first stop-motion series ever created in Greece. So after this, I will now pass it over to Fokion, and thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And thank you, UK UA Animation Lab, for the opportunity to share a bit of my experience, and I hope you find it helpful. So yeah, as Aaron said, my name is Fokion Xenos, and I'm an animation director from Athens, Greece. In my early professional years, I studied graphic design in Athens and focused on animation work, making small independent projects with my friends. After working in the film industry, doing visual effects and motion graphics, I wanted to develop my skills further and tell my own stories through animation. I always admired the films coming out of the NFTS, the National Film and Television School, so I applied and managed to get a position there to study, graduating in 2019. As Aaron mentioned, my graduation film is a stop-motion short called Heatwave. It premiered in Annecy and got selected to the Best of Kids selection that year, playing in various cinemas around France. In general, Heatwave had an amazing festival run with more than 150 entries and 46 awards internationally. I am really grateful for this success, as this is very unusual for a film made by a Greek animation director. This film took me into various places and gave me a perspective of how the industry and the festival model works. And I'm going to try and share some of that experience with you. So, Greece is a place that the animation industry is very undeveloped. The funds are very low and there is no straightforward way to produce an animated film. We have some really talented people working mainly for commission work, and there has only been scarce example of films or series through the years. The previous generation of animation creators in my country were some rogue artists that mostly did their work out of passion and pretty much self-funded their films. I consider myself doing the same when I paid the fees at the NFTS, to be honest. But of course, the school gave me a lot more. It's an amazing place, and I learned a lot about the process of how a film production works and how to truly collaborate with people on multiple levels. I had the chance to work with other creatives that were much more talented than me in their field, and they're a big reason for Heatwave success. As Aaron mentioned, the past 5 years, except from working as a freelancer, I have co-directed the first stop-motion series in Greece called Giagone, Inside the Museum. It's produced by ERT, the public broadcaster here in Greece, and Netafilm in 2022. It was a very tough job to convince the people to make it, and while it was a very low-budget production, me and my co-director, Joan Zonga, are quite proud of the result. One of the episodes was officially selected in Annecy in 2022. Except from that, the past 3 years, I'm developing my own series with the title Travel Bags with Netafilm. The project received development funds from Creative Europe Media as part of the company's slate funding. We pitched the pilot episode as a short to the Greek Film Center and got funded to make a proof of concept short. Afterwards, we took the project abroad. We pitched at Cartoon Forum, Animarkt, and many festival markets, and directly to broadcasters with my producer Isabella Alopoudi. We learned quite a lot from this, and I hope I will continue to learn more. Finally, my next short, called Heatwave, has received production funds from various Greek funding bodies, and we are looking forward to moving to production with some really awesome foreign co-producers. So, I am telling you all this because all of these collaborations and funding opportunities wouldn't be possible without some very convincing pitch decks. So, what is a pitch deck? A pitch deck is a brief presentation that gives potential investors, clients, broadcasters, or co-producers an overview of your project. It might be used for a live presentation or as a document file that you can share with people. Today, I'm going to make on what makes a good pitch and how to structure these two superhead documents. Of course, the materials you use for your project are going to be used in both cases. The main difference is pretty much the structure. For me, creating a pitch deck is an immensely important part of the creative process. Not only because it helps me convince people to give me their hot, juicy money, but also because it helps me collect my thoughts and put every bit of this chaotic idea in order. The pitch forces me to challenge all the loose things about my story, design, and techniques. Sometimes I start making a presentation about something even before I write the full script. It is a visual pamphlet of what I'm about to create. It might have a lot of moving parts and missing pieces, but keeping everything in one place and making it presentable to someone makes me understand my own ideas better. I trim the fat, polish the surfaces, and tighten all the screws as much as is needed to share it with people. People I trust first, and then the rest of the world. Of course, I'm not trying to solve everything to form the pitch deck, just enough to get the message across and test the waters. The first release from the back of my brain towards the world. I'm not suggesting you should do this as well. For me, it is something that helps me orientate myself whenever I go astray. It is not random that people in the industry also call it a pitch Bible, an animation pitch Bible. Okay, so what makes a good pitch deck? For me, the most important things when forming a pitch deck is clarity and engagement. Clarity is all about simplicity. The easier someone is going to be able to read through your document or follow your train of thought, the better. Engagement, on the other hand, is about the uniqueness of the project coming through. It is what keeps us flipping the pages to see what is next and what makes the project distinct. Being remembered is crucial, as the broadcaster, producer, or investor who receives our deck might have hundreds of other proposals to go through during the day. Making your project easy to read and memorable is very important. Or, in the case of a live pitch, the people in the audience might have woken up at 6 o'clock to commute to the place where the pitch is taking place, and maybe they have already listened to 20 other pitches so far. So you have to find a way to stand out and also keep them awake. Next, to achieve clarity and engagement, we need to focus on two key tools: design, aka the visual look and layout of the document, and precision, meaning the careful selection of content you incorporate in your narrative, texts, photos, designs, references, etc. I have been hired in the past to read film proposals from the Greek Film Center, and there is nothing more disheartening than a good film idea being a struggle to understand because of its pitch structure, or because it is being bloated out of proportion with too much text or too many photos. In addition, I have been in forums where a killer project is communicated badly, or runs out of time, or struggles to pass through to the audience. I'm going to focus on shorts for now, as I believe most of the people watching will be interested in. And I'll clarify the difference with the series a bit later. Okay, as I mentioned, precision is really important. Too much information is bad for us. So we want to try keep only the important and crucial stuff in our pitch. On the contrary, too little is going to create questions, so we need to be precise about the crucial things that we really need in this document. A usual pitch document is about 10 to 20 pages long, with about 2 or 3 pages of text spread out. As for the live presentation, it really depends on the forum you are attending and the format that they ask for. Most of them do 10 minutes, but there are also 5 and 15, and depending on what you're pitching, a short, a feature, or a series. I recommend preparing each time differently, but having a short and sweet 5-minute one ready is the base for the other time frames. Be aware that in order to get selected in a forum and pitch live, you need to submit your document first. So you will have to make the document either way. These are the crucial elements you need to figure out to create first. If you have these, you can easily adapt to each version. And here is what I recommend for each version. You can definitely screenshot. But as I said, the crucial elements appear in both. Okay? So these are the ones that you have to create first, in my opinion. Next, we're going to take all of these elements that we talked about, the logline, the general info, the characters, the set pieces, the mood board, the budget and plan, and your contact info. And we're going to keep them together in a convenient and clear way through design. Everything I say applies in both versions. However, keep in mind that on the live presentation, the less text you have on the screen, the better. People struggle to focus on 2 things at the same time, and you're going to be in the room, so let them focus on what you're saying rather than having them read the screen. Firstly, I will always do a landscape orientation for the pitch, either it's the document or the live presentation, as most of our computer screens are wide, as well as the most material that we have is wide as well. A good layout is the foundation of a clear pitch deck. My advice, keep it simple. A 4-column grid allowed me to be flexible when I structure each page. When I try to place an image or a text on the page, the grid helps me know where I put them. Whatever you choose, 4, 3, 2, try to stick to it as much as possible until the end of the document. The result will be coherent and a breeze to run through. Next, categorizing your titles, subtitles, and main body of text is also very important to keep simple and clear. It helps our eyes flow from one aspect of the page to the other and makes the reader grasp the information better. Using different weight, colors, and scales in fonts is very useful, as it forms variation in the pages and keeps everything tidy. However, I would suggest to stick to a duet of fonts and sizes that are going to serve you all the way through. One of the many texts, maybe you use different sizes of the same font, and using too much variation can create a headache. Okay, about images. Never squash and stretch them. I know it works for animated characters, but even a bit of distortion can make the pitch deck seem cheap and rust. Next, be sure to place them according to your layout and you will be fine. Be not afraid of the empty space. Negative space makes the page breathe and our eyes relax. But at the end of the day, if you still feel uncomfortable with the layout and the design, there is nothing wrong into asking for help. Maybe you use a template, or maybe you hire a professional or a friend that really knows about graphic design. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So now that we know our elements and we know what our tools are, I would like to demonstrate with an example how to create a pitch deck. How about we make one together? I will use a very popular short as an example that I am sure you can find online since it is 11 years old now. And I was a bit too hesitant to use stuff that I made because some of them are not in production yet. Okay, I hope you remember the Oscar winner for Best Animation in 2012. It is by an independent studio called Walt Disney Animation Studios, and the title is Paperman. It's an amazing film, both in terms of direction and technique, and has a very straightforward narrative that I believe is the best for short films. If you haven't seen it, please do a simple Google search and check it out. It's like a very easy to find clip. So I couldn't find an official pitch document online, but that's better because we're going to create one together, as I said. But I'm pretty sure that even at Disney, they make pitch Bibles to pitch it to higher ups in the team, or corporate people, or members of their team. I found a lot of material though. So as we go along, let's make a pitch document with these materials. I'm going to use as little of the final film as possible to convey a sense of the project in development, as the ones that are usually pitched will be in. Okay. So, as I said, design. We have to make some decisions. So the film has this black and white aesthetic and hand-drawn feel. So I will use this pale gray for my background. And next, I will use a 4-column grid, as I said, my favorite, as my guide. There is very significant role of red in the film. Everyone who has seen it will remember. So I will use it sparingly in my main titles. For the titles, I want something hand-drawn, so I choose Caveat. It's a free font from Google Fonts. And as the main body, I will use Calibri, which is like a very famous, useful font. Now, for the things to include, as I said, this is the list. And we'll go through them and I'll explain each one as we go. So, first one, it's the cover. This is your audience's first contact with the material, so make it represent the project the most. If your story is silly, then make it ridiculous. If it is somber and serious, make it intriguing. You want to invite the audience to want more. Except from the project title, it would be nice to have your name there, the director's name, and the production company, if there is a producer attached. For Paperman, I used this one as it is basically a romantic comedy, a rom-com. After that, we have the logline. What is it? It is a brief 1-2 sentence summary of your film, TV show, etc. It is the distilled essence of the project, so we have to make it potent and easy to remember. Try to include your protagonist, the inciting incident, his goal, and the central conflict. Of course, it is script writing basics all compressed into one thing. So for Paperman, I came up with this. In a black and white New York City, a lonely young office worker looking out of the window notices the girl in the next door building. After failing to get her attention using paper airplanes, a gust of wind helps them finally get together. So with this one, we are trying to distill the whole film. You will not manage to get any details, but I think it's a good starting off point to get the people accustomed with what's going to happen in your film. So I'm going to, place it in my grid and have it there for a little bit. And then I suggest you have more things in this page, such as a synopsis. So what is a synopsis? A synopsis is another short summary, 300 to 500 words of the plot of your short film, condensed into one page. It needs to include all the key points in your short from the beginning to the end. From reading your synopsis, the reader should be able to gain a strong sense of what your short film is about. Always remember to include the full story in a few words, as it is, I'm emphasizing this, as it is very common for people to hide the ending, with the result of the audience being frustrated not knowing the answer or where the whole thing goes. For Paperman, I found this one online. In a 1950s black and white New York, a lonely young office employee who processes paper forms all day spots the girl that sparked his interest earlier in the train station. She is improbably sitting in the office in the building next door. He tries to get her attention by sending paper planes in her direction, all attempts failing. But then the airplanes, animated by a benevolent wing, take the initiative and reunite the couple in a breathless, playful dance that ends on a train platform where they first met this morning. So as you can see, it's like a meteor version of the log line, but it keeps all the plot points inside. I will place this also in the first page of my document. And then the last thing that doesn't need what is this? The general info is about the format of your project. The duration, the genre, your target audience, and the technique that you're going to use. This might seem insignificant, but they clarify exactly what the project is about. The reader will have a frame of what to expect next. All right. Then let's focus on the characters. First, I will suggest you separate your main character from the rest. Use a full body pose and show us their anatomy. For me, you don't have to have a full turnaround and detailed sketches in your preparation. It will not hurt to include, but at this stage, you care more about getting the story and the character across, as well as the look, rather than proportions and all this other stuff. Also, don't be afraid to include sketches. Sketches are good because they're expressive. As a stop motion animator, it would be difficult for me to make puppets or models for everything to show the audience what things look like. So if you mention that what you're showing is concept art or sketches, people will understand. Okay, then be sure to include the expressive drawings for every character. These indicate how your main characters express during the story, how they're posed, their body and face. This information will get stuck in the reader's brain, so as he reads or she reads your script, they will have these images in mind. Be sure to plant these seeds nicely. In addition, I always like to include a small description in our PDF file. Nothing more than a few lines. It gives us insight into their characteristics, quirks, and plot-related facts. I would make no text visible for the live presentation, of course. Then, spend less space on the less important characters. Mention what role they play in the plot and how they serve your story. After all of this, and we have our, protagonist and other characters and other elements, is the world or the set piece where your story takes place. In this section, you should include concept art that inform the reader of what the tone of the story is like and where all the events take place. Spend a bit more time to get the mood right rather than focusing on detail. Choose your color palettes wisely and let images speak for themselves. Don't crop everything together. Spend a few pages in this section to let everything breathe. I would suggest only to include, this much text as I have here, and then have its piece on its own. In terms of art direction, your visuals may vary. I will not stress about this or minor changes, as a good piece is the one that will help the reader to get the tone and the feeling of your film rather than specific details in order to construct the story in their mind. Including your characters in the art also gives us a sense of their situation. Of course, character design isn't crucial at this point, as in this example, only tone matters. Also, it would be nice to prioritize your best artwork, so put the best ones first and the least ones in the end. But also try to arrange the pieces so that tell bits of the story in a loose chronological order. This will keep the story in the audience's mind, in the reader's mind. So this one will come before this one. After the set piece, I want to focus on the mood board, the references or samples of work. This is a collection of visual material that evoke a particular theme, style, or concept. In my opinion, a good mood board doesn't have to be strictly from animated pictures, resources, or drawings. If something conveys the mood, then it should be on your mood board. You're allowed to be a bit messy here, as it works more like a collage rather than an arranged set of pictures. So feel more free to experiment on this one. Then, the money, budget and plan. In this section, you should make a rough estimation of your cost and how long it will take you to make it. The amount really depends on the country you work at and what sort of technique you are using. I suggest you do a bit of research about other released projects in your regions or the region that you're interested in to create a very loose diagram. Nobody expects you to know all the details at the pitch stage. If you don't have a producer attached to the project, it's okay. Maybe you're using this document to find the producer. So keeping everything seemingly tidy is good enough. Try to estimate the cost of your film per minute of animation, depending on the technique, and multiply this by the length of your film. Okay. After this one, it's the director's note. What is it? A director's note is a written reflection in which the film director articulates their motive and vision for making this particular film. It is the essence of your creative vision and most direct bridge between you and the audience. A director's note delves into your head, uncovering the inspiration, challenges, and unique perspective that drive your project. It is not just about the story you are telling, it is about why you're telling this story and why the story matters to you, the audience, and the broader context of the world it inhabits. What started the idea for your film? How do you want the audience to feel? What do you want them to take away from the film? The highs and lows of what shaped your project? How has this project contributed to your development as an artist and storyteller? Your statement should be a reflection of you. So be honest, be bold, and let your passion shine through. These are some questions that I had had to give you in order to have an idea, a basic principle of how to construct your director's note. All right. We put this in the presentation as well. And then is a section about your previous work. If you feel uncomfortable of not having enough stuff to show around, or this is your first film, you can include commissioned work or even student exercises or projects. Remember though, it is not your portfolio page, so don't overdo it. Use 2 or 3 images tops. This is to convey that you're a creative individual and you can do this work and you're passionate about it. If you want to show people more, you can add a link to your website or your Behance or portfolio page. Close to the end, we can find a page about the team and the people that are involved in the field so far, if there are any. You can be on your own. There's nothing wrong with that. Mention the heads of department and a few words about them. Also, include their portfolio if they have any available. It is always positive to show collaborative action, and producers and investors always appreciate that. As I said in the beginning, it is a huge privilege to work with people that are experts in their field, so unity makes strengths. Collaborate with people more. Finally, on the last page of your presentation, thank the readers and be sure to include your info as well as your producer's info. People, we have to get back to you somehow, so include your email, social media, and phone numbers. If you have creative stuff posted on other websites, feel free to include them. Okay, so this is pretty much it for the pitch document. As I mentioned, even if you're looking forward to pitch live or not, you have to make this document first in order to submit it to a festival or a forum or any organization. So you will have to make a version of what I showed you first. Please consider that every project is unique. So you might want to add another section that explains your very peculiar technique or your situation and specify more. But do it very carefully and with measure in order not to have a bloated document. Now, For the live presentation, the key word regarding to your visual material and the stuff that you've made before in the document is reduction. Keep pulling things out till you have the bare bones. You're gonna be the key element of the presentation. When you go up to pitch or you sit on the pitching desk, people are gonna mainly focus on you, and they're gonna focus on your voice to orient them. So as I mentioned, the less text you have on screen, the better. Except from what you can see here on the list, there's a slight change of order in comparison to the previous one. And your personal information, you will notice, comes first. It's this one that I'm making, and I'm making this because it comes first because the audience feels much more comfortable getting to know who you are when you are trying to present something to them. This is, for me, the scaled down, more casual version of your director's note. All the things that you wrote there, why are you doing this and why this matters, is condensed in this section. In terms of stage performance, a lot of people are afraid of the stage, but it really depends on what type of person you are and what the organization mandates. Sometimes we don't have the option to choose if you want to sit down or speak through the microphone standing up. Some people are very charismatic on stage, using only a handful of slides, while others are relying more on the visual presentation, saying a few written down things on each of their many slides. Both, for me, is perfectly fine, as long as it makes you feel comfortable. It will work, and as long as you have to follow the instructions and the rules and you're fine with it, it's fine. What I would suggest is practice both to a friend, a partner, a family member, a producer, or someone that you trust. As for myself, I prefer writing down a loose script with my presentation and having each slide guide me where I am. My script works more like a pathway through the presentation, hitting all the bits that we mentioned before, rather than a text that I constantly read. Weaving the image and speech together is also really helpful, so I make sure to work on both simultaneously. So I make some of the images and I write a bit of the text that's going to go on top of that. It is fine if you want to work on a full script first and then translate it into images. For me, if I believe a specific sketch or a specific modification of the stuff that I have created helps me move the narrative forward, I make it or I manipulate it. I change it or I make it specifically for the bit that I'm talking about. Of course, this is just for me, but I suggest planning things through, so you both remember what is in front of you and what you have to say, and also emphasizing and making your pitch way more engaging. If you need to keep notes close, feel free to do so, either in cards or a tablet or notes or stuff like that. But be aware that you should mainly look at the audience in the eye and speak to them directly. All right. My biggest suggestion is try things out. Try things out and see how they feel. Adapt to what your project is about. Be somber or be funny, depending on the situation. You have to find a balance depending on to what you're pitching. You know, if you're pitching a very sad films, you cannot smile and be happy all the time. But if you're on the opposite side, pitching a comedy, you cannot be dour or looking down and stuff like that. So unfortunately, you have to adapt to that. So yeah, see how it feels, rearrange it, tweak it, work it out. A great resource that I found online and I recommend you read through is an article that's called How to Pitch and Sell an Animated Series by Tunde Vollenberg at Cartoon Brew. I highly recommend it, that it is a breeze to read through, and most of the things that she talks about work even if you're pitching a different format, a series or a feature or stuff like that. She had made many funny sketches to make everything memorable. And when I started pitching both my film and the series around, I had it as a guideline. There are 4 parts there, so enjoy. All right. To finish up, I want to say a few things about the series format and what the differences are with the short. Pitching a series is slightly different from a short, but there are many pitching forums and script writing workshops and stuff like that to help you navigate the project around to the market, I mean. Personally, I find them extremely useful, not only in terms of networking, but also in terms of creating a framework for your project to evolve and flourish. Travel Bags, my project, was born at Kids Kino Lab. Now it's called Young Horizons, a script writing workshop for kids content, either series or feature films. And what can I say? It was a blast to go through. I learned a lot about the process of screenwriting, forming a pitch bible, and getting advice from people that are really experienced in the film. And as I mentioned about the NFTS before my school, I'm a big believer of developing a project within a framework. It is good to have more experienced people look through your project and to be there to bounce your ideas onto. Especially if you're trying to make something that you are trying to finance, either it's a short or a feature, I would suggest work it on your own, but if you have the opportunity, go to a workshop or somewhere you can find professional suggestions and help. I would recommend it. Then I would recommend visiting pitching forums or festival markets. Many festivals, the past few years and more, I think, have some version of pitching in their markets. For me, if you are hesitant into applying with a project from early on, I would suggest visiting one as a spectator, as an audience member. You will be able to see other projects and get ideas about how to present your own idea. Especially if you want to make a series, I would recommend it. It is extremely helpful to know how the market works and what gets people's attentions. It is, of course, a great for networking, but also great for research. For us, for me and my producer, it helps us reorientate our project in ways we could have never thought on our own. We met some amazing people and got their honest opinions and suggestions. We are hopefully gonna collaborate with some of them in the future. All right. And now, what I got from this pitching journey, as a conclusion, I'll say, is that making a series is not only a matter of artistic proficiency, but also a business endeavor. A short film for me can be appealing for its own, on its own as an entity, on its own, because of its unique experimental technique or the sweet and short narrative. So is it simpler? No, it's just different. With shorts, you are asking people to find you money, mainly from cultural funds, to make an artistic piece of work. For me as a creator, that is wonderful, as I get to go wild making animation experiments and trying far out techniques and concepts. So I don't think I will ever stop trying to make shorts, as it scratches my itch for creative personal work. In contrast, series is more like a product. You are asking broadcasters or financiers to spend way more money on your project so they can include it in their scheduled program. Between other shows, before commercials, breaks in a catalog, in their platform, etc. You have to somehow fit in their profile. So in order to convince them, you have to play a bit by their rule sets and the rule sets of the market, which makes total sense, okay? I don't have anything against it. I'm not suggesting that this is wrong. It's just a different puzzle to solve and to have in mind for your idea generation. It is really fun because it is different. I am amazed by how many projects are out there. And if you're interested in making a series, I would firstly suggest you either attend these events to watch other people who have done it in the past, or look for some documents online. In terms of pitching a series project, I'll tell you about my experience. Both in the live presentation and the documents are slightly more complex. The world you are creating plays a much bigger role here, as it needs to sustain multiple storylines in an episodic format. You need to develop the ideas much further. In addition, your protagonists need to be surrounded by a robust cast of characters to fuel these plot lines for the whole season. So you have to include these extra sections in your pitch to run people through them, to explain it to people better. In general, I should think you should make your whole presentation way more marketable. Envisioning how to captivate the target audience is an extremely important factor that will ooze all over your presentation. So keep that in mind, that it is not only different in terms of making something extra, but it affects your idea as well. To conclude, I believe pitching might be scary to a person working in a dark room, either making drawings, playing with their dolls, or spending the whole day in front of a computer screen, like us animators. We all have insecurities about our work and our personal projects, and some of us prefer to never share them with anyone. However, I think the process of putting together a pitch document is really worth your time and effort. It is a really good way to communicate your project with the world and a professional tool to accept funding and meet people that can become your allies. I understand that the anxiety of live pitching is really frustrating for some people, but I would suggest you visit some forums for research as audience members first, and I believe most of you would be relieved to find now out it's not such a big deal. Personally, I believe it is way easier the second time you try it. The first time you might panic or you find yourself in a difficult situation, but when you have to do it again, you're like, okay, it will work out. Thank you so much for the attention and the opportunity. And I'll gladly have questions and I'll try to answer them as much as possible.
Thank you, Fokion. That was fantastic. Really, you nailed everything. You had everything in that presentation that I was hoping, and I love the fact that you used the paperman example to illustrate the point. And I would totally agree with your point about attending other forums to kind of pick up tips, and not just to learn what other people are doing and kind of see, but also kind of to understand how they're structured, to get used to the area, the location, that kind of thing. So yeah, a top tip for anyone who hasn't actually pitched yet, definitely try and get to any forum or market that you can to just drink it all in, learn what it's all about. We do have a question from one of the audience members. So where is the best place to submit a pitch and to get feedback and potential green lights if you are new to the industry and lack representation?
That's a great question. I believe festivals are the first place you should go to. You know, like festivals are these hubs that animation people get together. I'm always amazed of how many people work in the animation industry. Every time I visit a festival, every time I think I'm alone, we're a few people doing this weird job. But whenever you attend a festival, you both watch films, but also meet people who are interested in these films. So yeah, many festivals have some sort of market, agora market. Some of them do have pitches. So I think it's a good place to network first, see someone else pitch, or, someone, a producer might attend, or, someone from a film center might be there. So I would say, as cringe and old-fashioned it might seem, making a card with your contact details and some artwork or something that you're proud of, or the link to your website or a QR code, and going there is really good to engage with this sort of universe. And then I think festivals are a good hub to get to know the people who put together the festival, because they will have contacts and suggestions and stuff to show you around, to suggest to you. So yeah, for someone less experienced with no representation, I would say it would be good to get yourself out there and get to know people. And most of the times festivals are fun as well. So this is my suggestion. Yeah.
Fantastic. And on the note of feedback, do you often find that you are able to get feedback after you've pitched? Do you follow up asking how it can be improved, or what would you kind of advise for people that do want feedback after they've pitched?
I think so. I think most of the forums, or even some of the agora markets, the festival markets do it nowadays. They have some sort of training usually. If you're about to pitch, they invite you there 2 or 3 days before, so they can give you like a small masterclass, or to go through your pitch a few times. So I think if you attend to any of them, it's not like 5 o'clock you pitch and you just appear and pitch. So there is a process, usually, from what I recollect in the festival pitches that I've been through. There is sort of an induction sort of week for that. but also you can mention it in your pitch as well, like how do you find your project? I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings about what I presented. So yeah, leave your contact and tell them to feel free to write you back. And if they don't, you write them and you're like, okay, I made this project. If you have a bit of a nerve, I think no one is gonna get offended. Like I think it's important to get yourself out there, and if they are not interested or if they're busy, they just won't reply. But I think it's worth the effort.
You have to try, don't you?
Yeah.
We have another couple of questions coming, so I'll quickly run on to those. We have a specific one about pitching and making a TV series. Do you ever worry about production companies or the like stealing your idea and doing it without you? And how do you protect yourself when you tell other people your ideas?
Yeah. So for my case in Greece, we don't have many production companies that do animation whatsoever. But I think, trusting someone with your project is very scary. It is something that I struggle myself sometimes to share. But as long as you can make it professional, as long as you can have, I don't know, some sort of binding contract, or if you send a script, you keep it within people you trust, or you keep the originals, you keep the original drawings, you keep the original idea and stuff like that. I think you're going to be fine. There are so many series specifically for series projects that try to get funded, that I don't believe there's going to be someone. I think it's very hard for someone to steal your ideas, because everyone is trying to get a piece of that pie, and that pie is very small. People who do get their series funded, they have a project that goes on. Little hard. They have a project that goes on for a lot of time, like many years. It's a multiple year project. So I would be hesitant and careful, but at the same time, I think there's so many ideas and so many projects out there that it is unlikely.
And I've also heard that it's not just the idea, like the commissioners or the people that are looking for ideas, it's the creators that they're buying into as well. So you have to be passionate about your short film or TV series. So it isn't just the idea. Sometimes it's also the the creators who.
Correct. Yeah. What comes with it? It's how you tell the story, how you present your idea. Yeah. And this, you can only make stuff your own way if you. Even if it's the same idea, you can only make it your own, because you make the drawings, you make the presentations, you make everything. Yeah.
Okay. We have another one, which is, we say, a slightly silly question. There are no silly questions. I'm going to ask it anyway. So it's about pilots. Can I present an animated series pilot? So icon is covering up. Can I present an animated series pilot at the storyboard stage?
I think pilots are very, very important. It is the first script of the series that you write, and have to incorporate all your ideas into that script and into that time frame. I think you can having a pilot made is really helpful. Writing a pilot and then having something made. As I said, for Travel Bags, we applied to the Greek Film Center as a short film. We presented this as a short film and we wrote in the pitch deck that we hope this becomes a series, but it can stand on its own. So I do believe, I'm not sure if you can pitch just the pilot, But if you have the script or the storyboard for the pilot, you can pitch the series. If you can manage to twist that pilot, zero episode or however else they call it, into a short, and it makes sense as a short, then you can pitch that as well and explain to people that you want to expand, and this world has more stuff in it. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to show it to someone, but you have to dress it appropriately. You have to dress it as a short if you want to get funds for a short and make it and then make the rest of the series, or you want to dress it as the pilot episode, but this is the bigger concept behind it. This is the world. These are the people that are involved. This is how the storylines are structured. Series is a bit more robust as an endeavor. So just having one script wouldn't make the cut. What people usually do is they make, if this is what we did as well. We made a full script for the pilot, but then for every other episode we did a plot summary, like an outline, plot outline, and we had plot outlines up until episode 15, let's say, out of 26. So we had a version of how we write and how this could be produced, and then we showed people what the other episodes are going to look like. So this might be another good idea.
Okay, perfect answers, and I think that takes us. Let me just check if we have time for one last question. We're getting a lot of, Anastasia just sent me saying we're getting a lot of love and thank yous from our Ukrainian audience. So you've done a great job. Everyone's loving what you've said so far. Let me see. Okay, one last question. I think this has to be the final one. Have you ever had feedback from people that you're pitching to and that you've disagreed with? And how do you respond to it when it comes to the project?
Oh man, of course. Of course I had disagreements with people who were in the audience or who were part of this teaching process, as I said. The hardest thing is to keep a clear mind and know who are you agreeing with in terms of what you like about the project, and who are you agreeing with because they seem fancy or they seem to know what they're saying. So it's very confusing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very confusing to get feedback from people because, for example, for travel bags, everybody sees the project as they want to see it. They have their angle to it. It's a very open project in terms of concept. It's two little bags that travel around having adventures. So you can take that anywhere. The possibilities are endless. So what I'll say is try to note down each feedback that you are given and think about it in a clear time or space or whatever, because it is confusing. Some people are trying to help you, but at the end of the day, it might not be what you were envisioning for the project. In comparison, sometimes you're too stubborn that you want to keep the project as it is, but these people know the market better and know how things work better. So it's a balancing act. I would say note down what feedback you receive and deal with it later. Don't change, your presentation to appeal to one person. Get a lot of feedback and then think it through. If it makes sense, as I said, series is a product, and adapt to what the market is saying and what what is popular, what is successful, and stuff like that. So yeah, we keep developing. We're already now 2.5 years into this project, and we keep developing it to make it more accessible, appealing. To fit into a broadcaster's specificities and all this stuff. Yeah.
I think that's good for new people who are new to pitching to know that an idea is always developing, isn't it? It's never that you pitch it and it's the same idea that you'll pitch again and again and again. It is always going to evolve and change over that process.
Of course.
We do have more questions rolling in if you're still okay to answer a couple more.
Go for it. Yeah,
okay.
You tell me when we've passed.
This is more of a personal one. So at what age did you present your first idea or project?
Yeah, I think I did some pitches for commission work in the beginning. So I worked for TV stations and as an editor, and I worked at motion graphics and graphic design studios and stuff like that. So our first pitches were more design-oriented pitches. In order, like the client comes to you and wants a small animated short, like 30 seconds or whatever, that advertises their product through animation. So I can train myself in the industry, in the market, like presenting someone a solution for what the communication solution for what they're looking for. So I think around 23 years old, 22, 23 years old, when I had my first real job in the industry, but it was mostly for commissioned stuff rather than mine. I think my first one was really, I don't know, at the NFTS, pitching to other students and to other people. Yeah, my deal before, when I was in Athens, me and my friends, our deal was we mainly did music videos, and the people were like, "Oh, we don't have enough money," and then we're like, "We're gonna do whatever we want." This was our deal. So I made a lot of projects, but we didn't have to pitch it to someone. I think the NFTS was the first one that I did pitch a personal project.
Thank you very much. Okay, this will be the last question now. More of a stop motion question. So if stop motion is can be animation, it is, can you pitch puppetry at an animation festival?
Puppetry, you mean the stop motion puppets, or like?
That's a good question. I think it means stop motion. If we're wrong, could you put it in the chat? But I think
I think in terms of pitching, usually you don't pitch your skills, you pitch a project. So I don't know if you mean that you're making puppets and you want to make puppets for someone, but if it's a stop motion project, the more you create for the project, the better. In terms of bringing something physical to the pitch is really useful. We did take the two puppets that we made here in Greece in Animarkt and in Cartoon Forum. So it's good to have an actual object with you, for sure. But
we have some clarification. It's live puppetry.
Okay. Live puppetry. This is a very specific thing in the film world, I think. Like animating with live action puppetry. It is debatable. I'm not sure. There's this amazing NFTS film called Man O' Man. I don't know if Aaron, you've definitely seen that, but it's online. You can search it.
This was a big debate back when this came out. I remember, like, should it be in animation festivals? Where does it sit? So yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it spread a lot of it spread the audience into this is an animation film. This is not an animation film. It used all the elements of the animation film, but it was only puppetry. I do believe there are very cool things you can do with puppetry. So if the organization is fine for it, if I was at an organization that you had to pitch your project and you presented a puppetry project, I would be fine. If it looked cool.
I think it's up to the forum, it's up to the festival. I've been on juries where there's been a puppet film in, and it's very much live action, a lot more live action. Mixes other things, but it's very much puppetry, and it's allowed. I mean, sometimes it slips. It depends the definition, doesn't it? So
yeah, it does definitely.
Just to clarify on the chat, man oh man. I'll try and find out before the chat ends how that's spelled. But it's do you remember the director? I can't think.
Ben something. I don't remember it.
Yeah, it was 2016 or 15, I think.
Yeah. NFTS 2016, 17. I went to the NFTS. I graduated 2019, but I started the studies on 2017, and it was like a year or 2 years before. So man oh man, he's Ben something.
Simon Cartwright.
Simon Cartwright, not Ben. It's okay.
And so Simon Cartwright. Man oh man, all one word. If anyone wants to look it up, I'm pretty sure it'll be online.
Yeah, and Simon did some really cool puppetry things for Gumball. They asked the puppetry version of Gumball when they, I don't know, go into another dimension, something like that. So his experience with puppetry got him that job. But yeah, yes.
Fantastic. Well, we have no more questions, and I think that's perfectly on time. So thank you so much, Fokion, for all fantastic talk and all the information you've imparted to everybody. It's been super useful. And just to let everyone know that this will be rebroadcast. It will be available online afterwards as well, so people can rewatch it, do the screenshots they didn't get time to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for attending, and good luck with your projects, and be bold and be brave to pitch them around or make this document. These documents, you don't have to meet anyone. You just click send, and it might, get your project funded, or you might find the partners that you need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam. All right.
Can we stop smiling? Is it still live?